Hello and welcome, Monday Club. We're back. So you might notice I have this on.
Is that sprayed on or is that a t-shirt?
This is a t-shirt. Are you mocking it? Listen, you're sitting there.
I'm not mocking the brand.
Listen, you're sitting there with your collars popped and a quiff. So relax, Elvis.
I was born in the 80s. This is our address.
No, mate. Today we've got Ricky from Byrne Electrical, Jamie's mate.
Hello. Good evening. Thanks for having us.
It's the first time I spoke to him, innit? It's not. We are internet friends, but it's the first time we have properly communicated. Is on this forum here.
Internet friends. Is that as sad as being a pen pal?
There's a bit more of a story to it than that, but we'll cover that in a bit. But that's not an open invitation for everyone out there to start trying to become my internet friend, because I will just tell you to fuck off.
And it's like in between, isn't it?
See, listen, what have I told you about swearing in the first 5 minutes every week?
That's why I do it.
You should get a swear jar.
Mate,
hey, I'm not being funny, but after the editing you did on the last one, which was nothing, you can do that this week. Never mind.
You wouldn't need any sponsors if you had a swear jar, Jamie.
No, it's true. So, just to let everyone know, we're now sponsored by Verso. This episode is brought to you in conjunction with Verso, and we've got a little treat in a minute.
Nice.
They sent us a cake.
Eh?
Oh, they sent us a cake.
Oh, I wish they did, mate. I could have cake with my tea, because I'm having tea today rather than whiskey. Because apparently last week's episode I was quite drunk. I didn't think I was.
I'm drinking traditional pedo water, as I always do on these podcasts.
Why is he saying this stuff so early on? You know that's just going to get us... Mate, he's just got no etiquette, has he? So this week we're talking about community, the social media community. What I like to call the electrical... What did I call it? The electrical social media sphere.
A cesspit?
No, man. I don't think it is that. I don't think it is that. I think it's what you make it.
I think it depends how popular on what you think of it, doesn't it? If you're not very popular or people don't listen to you much, you call it a cesspit. If you get along all right with it, then it's all right, isn't it?
No.
What you make of it.
So hold on. The community has brought us together with young Ricky here.
It has. You tell him, Rick. You tell him.
Yep,
how do I know you?
that's it.
Or how did we first cross paths?
Well, bizarrely, we didn't actually communicate with each other on DIY Swiss, but we happened to see one another.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't till, I'm going to say, maybe mid-February towards March, when we got the sniff of the programme being broadcast, that I realised I was actually following Jamie, and we'd worked on the project together.
Although I weren't sparking, I was just general labouring. But yeah, so it's a good one. Good. If anyone wants to watch it, it's DIY SOS Kettering. If anyone wants to go on,
no one wants to watch it. No one wants to watch it.
It's a nice programme.
I don't like Nick Knowles. Right, and I don't like Billy Byrne. I don't like Billy Byrne.
I know why you don't like Billy Byrne. I'll let you alone, but I literally will not hear a bad word said about Nick Knowles by anyone. I'm treating him like the Queen today, yeah? I will not hear a bad word said about him at all. End of story.
Why?
Because he's brilliant.
Why is he? Is he the only famous person you've met?
You have to be there, as I'm sure Rick will adhere to. Yeah, you have to be there.
Yeah,
and he asked you not to speak about it, so I'm not going to speak about it. But if you want to find out, go and do some volunteering on a
listen, if you can't speak about it, then don't say it on the show, because now you have to say it.
I'm trying to start an era of intrigue. So yeah, I think if you want Leeds this weekend, if anyone wants to go and volunteer, get yourself up there.
Yeah, they're desperate for volunteers. They've appealed on BBC Radio 2, who have to Sparks for second Vicks, I think, on the
so if you're near Leeds,
28th, 29th, I think.
This will go out. This will be out Monday morning when they start it. So if you're near Leeds, look at DIY on Facebook and see if that's for anyone, because it's a good crack. It is a really good crack.
Mark's near Leeds, isn't he?
I don't know.
Allison.
Is he not? I thought he was in, what's it called? That
Driffield.
Driffield. Yorkshire. The whole
yeah, but I
Yorkshire.
swear he's near Leeds.
I don't know. I'd go up, but I've just had 2 weeks off on paternity leave. And if I did that, I'd be taking the piss.
Ricky, we need to address something before we move on.
Crack on.
What? When did you get shot in the face with a BB gun? Oh, he's frozen.
Where? What? Oh,
no.
I think my partner seems to like it, so it stays. And we've got technical problems.
I'm just changing over. 1 second. I've got to change the feed.
It sounds like a proper studio, this does.
It's not. I've just got to put it onto my phone because you know what happens? My wife will close the curtains to the back door.
The good news is this gets recorded at Zoom, not at Sam's house. Otherwise, this would all get lost.
Yeah, it would.
Your wife
Oh,
closes.
right.
What you got? Are you scared of nuclear war? Have you got curtains made out of lead or something?
I don't know.
What
She closes the door,
your curtains
closes
made
the
out of?
curtains, and that's it. No signal. Couldn't
It's
be
not like
right.
you're making a living out of it or anything like that, is it? Just she just shuts the curtains to stop Margate and what's his name looking in the window.
Oh, what, the seagulls? But Ricky, tell us a little bit about yourself. First of all, have you got a gold card?
Unfortunately, not. No, I'm old school. I don't work on site. I did my 236 back in 2000 and something. So I did my part 1, part 2.
Paul,
and then,
how old are you?
I'm 38. Yeah.
Well, I didn't do part 1 and part 2. That's a bit weird. I didn't do that.
When did you do yours?
I qualified in '99, but I didn't. When I started, part 1 and part 2 were a thing that was been phased out. So that's interesting. That must be an area thing.
Well, I did my part 1 at Stafford College, so Nick Bundy's land, and then I did part 2 at Wolverhampton College. My accent's from Wolverhampton. I was born in Gloucester, but I now live in Sandy, Bedfordshire. And then did my 16th. I've done my 17th. Did my 17th Amendment 2, and then obviously 18th a couple of years ago. Oh, I did my 2391 in Birmingham in about, I don't know, probably about 10, 15 years ago.
So you could get a gold card, couldn't you, with part 1 and part 2? We just ain't got one.
No, so I had the experienced electrical worker card because I was looking to work on site, and they told me to get the gold card, I'd have to spunk a shit ton of money at the wall to do one of these mature candidate assessments, which I just thought, I've gone through the ranks. I did my apprenticeship. I've brought loads of apprenticeships through the system. I mean, it's a shame we don't have a review network for electricians with apprentices, but I've got loads to stay in touch with, even engineers. And I've brought them for the ranks, and I've got guys that I've worked with in the past who've made a big thing about having a gold card. Yet, they're useless.
You're pre-gold card, aren't you? That's the thing, is you are actually you are pre-gold card, aren't you? It didn't.
Yeah.
It only started getting popular after the part 1 and part 2 finished. So really, you have done it properly. It's just that you sort of linger before it. Yeah.
But it's good. It's good because obviously the frustration for me is I've spent a lot of time, money, and obviously invested in my own development, like the 2391, keeping up to date with the regs. And then there's like these obstacles in the way that they want experienced workers like myself to do more work just to get a piece of plastic that says I'm an electrician when I'm actually an electrician anyway.
Are you though?
It's interesting. It's interesting because
I don't have the gold card.
It's interesting because you are in that little void where part 1, part 2 went out, and whatever numbers it was came in, and before that they weren't that much.
Yeah.
Be interesting to know when the JB gold card come in now. Now you've said that, I'd be interested to find that out. I might have a look into that.
It's such a minefield. It's such a minefield, all this gold card and not gold card and experienced worker and stuff like that. It's there should only be one way into the industry, and for years it hasn't been. And it's sort of cultivated this divide between gold card and non-gold card. And people go, oh well, I know gold cards, they can't do anything, and I know people who've never done a qualification and they're mustard. And it's great because there's going to be exceptions to every rule in every walk of life. But the fact is that where it was so fragmented for so long, you've now got this divide, and you've now got people who are qualified but not really to some people, and some people who are qualified not really to others. It's mental. So
I don't know anything before, which I just realised this second of the conversation. I don't understand anything before the qualification in gold card. I don't know when it came in. I know parts 1 and 2 were out for a while, which were traditional routes to time served. And I know there's blokes in my firm that done parts 1 and part 2 and were classed as electricians, but I didn't. I'll have to look into that because I'm quite interested now to see that.
It used to be that you could do like the 2330, or sorry, the City and Guilds qualification, and then you could get your boss to write in.
Yeah.
And get your gold
time
card.
served, wouldn't it? They'd say he is of a sufficient standard.
Yeah.
But now, if you haven't got one previous, now if you suddenly go back now, they're sort of like, well, now you've got to comply with the new regs and that. So yeah. It's a bit of a weird one. I'd like to know if anyone else in that position. If you're,
I know in the past I've had someone who's got pretty much the same qualifications as me, a few years older, and he got the black card. And I think there was like a cut-off date that the JIB said if you didn't have the card by this date, you couldn't get a gold card. Well, I worked in maintenance for probably around about 6 years. I was an electrical maintenance engineer at one at a steel work and then a timber factory. Before I came back on the tools as a full-time spark, that was just a DOS, really. Good money, easy work. So I've got a bit of a obviously industrial background in that sense.
I'll tell you a black card story now, yeah. And I've got one. I was flashing up today, right? When I got my black gold card, I sent the form off and they just sent it there. I was just literally like, fuck it, I'll send it in, see what happens. And they sent me a black card. Since then, I've acquired the experience and the knowledge and the qualifications to keep it. But when I went back in like the 2000s, the JRB had sent in a card, mate. They'd say if you got a dead dog and took a picture of it and filled the form in for it, they'd send that a card. And sorry, JRB, but that's how it was. That's how I got mine. I don't mind coming on and admitting it. But yeah. But now they seem to have gone like well regimented and strict on it, which is a bit of an odd one. There's no.
Are we going to get on topic? Or are we just going to talk nonsense?
This is the preamble. This is what people listen for.
You love a tangent, you guys.
You did bring your chap here on for a reason. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, I'll talk about community because obviously Rick's done some community stuff like volunteering and that. He's active on the media, having the chit chat of everyone. Done something every week I want to talk about, which I thought was quite nice. But yeah, how good is the community? I think Spark is shutting each other too much.
I see.
I
don't know this.
It up, being little whingy bitches. Although I am in a spat with a few people, not gonna lie about it. But generally, there's a lot of people throwing crap around that could just do with being knocked on the head.
So what I reckon is there's like echo chambers, loads of little echo chambers on social media where they will sort of have their opinion. Like, and when I mean social media, I come from the days of WhatsApp groups. So you have WhatsApp groups, job sharing WhatsApp groups for Sparks in London, and then the debates will get so heated in these WhatsApp groups about agencies and the ACA being like demons and stuff like that, run by like baby eating people, and then you got baby eating lizards. David Icke saw them, and then so then they would break off into chat groups. So you'd have your militant Union Sparks, and then you'd have
I hate them. sorry,
and then you'd have all these other people, and there'd be massive online rows, and it'd be going on for days. So there is communities that are good and bad. You like, for instance, if you look at the Apprentice 1-to-1 community, which you're a massive part of. That's only good stuff, isn't it, really?
I'll tell you what, right? When I came on here and I started doing this with you, I expected to get people messaging me and telling me what a dick I am, right? And I'm cool with that because everyone's entitled to opinion. It hasn't happened. I'm quite disappointed, actually. But I don't think you should refrain from telling people what your opinion. But like, there's just a lot of like non-community stuff. Like, I quite like. There's a few people on Twitter I love arguing with about electrical stuff, technically, or about other stuff. And we're both doing the same thing. We're both kicking the can to get the argument, but then some people just get dead arse.
Are we talking about Mr. Bridgman here?
Bridgman loves it.
Loves it.
He loves an argument on Twitter, and I like it. I enjoy it. He's like, he'll always, if I said dark is black, he'd say it was white. Yeah. And he'd argue a good reason why. But there's a lot of hate out there on Twitter as well, and it could.
You're just controversial. I think you say what a lot of people feel and think.
My only aim on this, right? I come on this show. I don't get paid. I don't get any reward or anything. I come on here to represent Sparks because I'm a Spark, and my only goal is to be the Sparky Spark. If you want to send me something, you're not going to get me talking about it or saying how great it is. I don't get sponsored. I don't get paid by anyone. That's my game. So because of that, I'm free to say what the fuck I like, and that's what I do.
And he does.
Because
it's good.
Life's too short not to, innit? But I will happily listen to someone telling the opposite, and then I'll discuss the difference as well. But when you start getting blocked is my big bugbear, or removed from stuff, or moved on, like, what is that? That's what
threw you into. That's what threw you into the electrical Twitter sphere.
Not only that, right? There's a group on Facebook. I don't name it, right? And it's run by a guy, and he's well known for being a left wing
group.
No, it's not that group. It's another group. I think it's Electricians Community, Electricians.
Oh yeah. It's a big old group.
It's run by what I would call a left-wing trade unionist bellend.
Yes, it is, yeah.
right? And someone made me the admin of Electrical Community UK, and then the raving left-wing unionist Belen come on the group the other day, and I went, "Are you going to unblock me from your group?" And he went, "No." So I deleted him off that one. Fuck you. 3 years later, but I didn't go looking for trouble. He just said, "Oh, I'm not having your opinion on here," and I'm like, "Well,
what was it? What was the group called then? Just tell me what the group's called. It doesn't matter.
I can't remember, which is why I'm not thinking it. But it's run by someone, and they threw you off for all sorts because they thought.
Who is it? Who is it? Is it Frank Morris?
No, it's Trevor Ord, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
So he binned me off that one, and I was like, I haven't done anything. And then the other week I got my own bag. So fuck you.
Do you know what it is? There's
but
loads of.
Why
there's
do you
loads
want
of little.
to silence each other? Is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I need to get the point out.
No, what I think it is, there's a lot of like, as with any community, there's people with their mad opinions. It's like I've been in quite a lot of these communities over the years where I've been front and center with union stuff. I've been front and center with podcasting stuff. And I've talked to so many people. What I've realized is you have these communities of like real opinions. Like there's community out there. Like there's a guy. I'm going to give him a massive shout out. It's called Ray, right? He is my mortal enemy. Okay.
Hi, Ray. Give us a call.
And his Twitter handle is called Helping Sparks Out. And what he does is he raises money for sparks who are injured or ill. And then gives them the money or gives their family the money, especially over Christmas and stuff like that. He's not a bad guy. He's just an opinionated guy that I have spent many, many hours arguing with because he was misguided in certain areas. And but I just want to give him a shout out for the work that he does, helping sparks out. It's a nice thing that he does. He does it for mostly sparks in and on the agency circuit in London, and he's raised loads of money.
So
loads of money out.
What do you two like to fall out about then? Just roughly, just technical things, or
so I fell out. No, fuck. As if I could fall out with anyone over technical. I struggle with a two-way switch today. It's more about stuff like because I come from the agency scene. And
it's all about your union.
Subbing, yeah. So the union is Unite, and they have their opinion on what should be done and why it should be done. And I sort of had a different opinion. I was more about let's just help ourselves. Like let's become better sparks, do things differently to what the people that we've been doing before, and elevate ourselves out of the problem rather than all grouping together to elevate us as a whole. Because I don't think that's ever going to work. You're never going to beat the ECA because they're smart people and we are electricians. It's their job to do what they do. And I don't even know if you need to beat the ECA. It's like their job is to get the best deal for them. United's job is to get the best deal for us. And
they're always going to argue by default, aren't they? That's always going to happen. And
I just saw that there was a different way to do it. And it upset a lot of people. I was really hated.
The thing is, though, even though you've got some, I don't think bad blood's the correct word, but you know what I mean? You've got some argument going off. You can still come in and say what great work he does for the charity, can't you? Which is
man.
That's exactly what I'm saying it should be like. That is exactly what people should be like on the social media and with each other, I think.
But for the last, this is only a recent sort of development in my head. I've only it's only because I've been right to the bottom of the barrel. I've been in amongst it. I've fallen out with literally everyone on Twitter at some point. Any other group I've fallen out with. And what you have to realise is people are people that have their opinions. It's not arguing about religion. Don't bother. Don't bother. Because they believe it. So you're not going to change someone out of believing it. So what I like to do now is just have people on from different communities. Understand what their point is and try and take something from it. But where you two met is slightly different in terms of it's more of a charitable community. Now, I know that Rick, you do a lot of charitable stuff. You're there to help people, help out help out anyone really, innit?
Well, I volunteered this morning to marshal a 10-mile race. So yeah, got up early this morning just to stand out in the rain, clapping people on.
What about your tools, Rick? I want to talk about these tools you got. Tell us
What
all
tool?
about the tools you
Right.
collected for someone, which you think you deserve a bit of credit for. If you haven't had it already, but I want to have some
Well,
more of it.
to be fair, when I did this, I didn't do this for me, for fame or anything like that. But really, I mean, as you can see, I'm not like that adept with social media just yet. I've only been on Instagram since January. But anyway, I had a job in Kettering, and when I finished the job in Kettering, I popped to the house that we did the DIY SOS, and arranged with obviously the family to meet them. And when we sat in the kitchen, bearing in mind I'd never really sort of met them properly because during the project they weren't there, were they?
No, you don't see any of them.
No. So obviously they invited me to their home, made me a wicked cup of tea, sat there and had a chat, and the mum said, "Our daughter's got some great news to tell you," and she basically came up with, "I want to do an apprenticeship in either electrical or plumbing,"
Boo.
and obviously I shot down the plumbing straight away. I said, "You don't have to unblock toilets in our trade." So basically, yeah, she signed up to do an electrical apprenticeship. But whilst I was there, I said, I've got a load of old tools at home. When I say old, like decent stuff, replacing the old, the red and blue Nippec stuff with the red and yellow. So I've just put the blue
Rick's
stuff
so
aside.
pimp, even his crap tools are decent. All right.
So yeah, I went through, and then when I obviously went through what I had, I thought, okay, we're short of this, short of that. And I thought, you know what? Let's reach out to the community, see who's available, see who can help. And it was awesome. The response I've got a lot of ignores, but let's look at the positives here. I mean, I'm right to just shout out people who helped out. Yeah.
There's no rules on this podcast. Fool.
Yeah. Well, Joe from JR Electrical, similar to me and Jamie, I've never met each other before Instagram. Joe lives 5-10 minutes from here. He donated a mega pen tester and socket tester off his own back, sole trader. And then obviously Mike from Loadout and Alicia, his partner, I sent them a message, and I was expecting a no. I mean, I was looking for a tool bag to put all the stuff in because it was just in a carrier bag. So yeah, Mike and Alicia came good, and they didn't just give me any old tool bag. They gave me like £180 Velocity Pro Rogue 8.5 or 7.5.
Nice. That's from loadout.shop, I think it is.
That's the one.
It is loadout.shop, and there'll be a link in the show notes.
And then Nipex, they got in touch, and they sent us a few tools over. Hager sent us those screwdrivers. I was then told afterwards, don't give them screwdrivers away. They're worth a fortune. And I'm like, listen, this is not about me. This is about the next generation. So when I put it all together, I was like, wow, this, to be honest, I ended up sending a lot of duplicate tools to her, but I was in that sort of mindset of like, well, this is what I was giving her anyway. Mm-hmm. So we ended up with extra screwdrivers. And then Klein came through and Super Rod. They gave us a set of rods, tape measure, a pad saw. So basically I sent out a list of people with like sort of what people had donated and what we were outstanding. Somebody let us down at the last minute, but I just went in the screw fix and just bought what was outstanding on the business and sent over to a full set of tools. And bless her, she sent us loads of photos, videos. She's now started her apprenticeship.
Wow.
Teacher or the lecturers told her that her tools are better than his. It's great. So that's little Maisie. I think it's Maisie Electric. I'll get her details up for you. But yeah, she's only 16. I've sort of put her name out there and got her involved with the female Spark network, because they all seem to be very supportive of one another, which
they're
wicked. Is great.
They're wicked.
Yeah.
They're all sat around that cauldron at night talking about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nah, listen, like I've always supported the female electrical network since day one. It's always been a big thing for me, especially now I've got a daughter. So yeah, big shout out to the ladies of the electrical industry, especially on social media. They are amazing. Every single one of them. Amy, Kimmy, Summer, Gina, you name it. I've missed out a load, but they are all very awesome, and they're there to help.
Well, how old's your daughter now?
3.
Oh mate, wait till she's about 6. They're great for lifting up and putting their arm through hole saws you put in the ceiling. Yep. My little girl Joyce, I've had her up literally shoulder deep into the ceiling grabbing cables. That's a tool we need in the toolbox.
My daughter loves helping. She'd love to come to work with me. She's always asking, but she's too young yet.
But the community, see, that's what got on for me. Because like, I'm not getting onto blow smoke off, but if everyone was a bit more like that, it'd be better, wouldn't it? And tradesmen are renowned for shitting on each other, I think.
I think it's a funny thing, because I think if you do it too much, people start rolling their eyes, and then
not just that kind of thing. They're not like constant charity, because that just getting on. But I mean, like on site, like just help each other out. The first thing I do is like I always like go to if the plasterer's got a broken drill, which you always have because they lager drinking pissheads. I was going, oh, do you need your drill fixing, mate? That way, my boxes don't get full of goo. You know, just stuff like that is simple to thing, and you can keep everyone happy.
I would not do that. I would never do that.
What, you won't fix
I would fucking throw their drill
out
out the window and say, "Get your shit out of my way! I'm the king trade."
But then
the king trade is here.
Then you'll get boxes full of plaster.
No, I'm the king trade. Peasants. Everyone else is a peasant on site.
They won't be watching this podcast anyway because they can't hear. But it just makes life easier on site to get along with everyone. Unless someone, and don't get me wrong, I've said before, yeah, I'm not a total peace-loving, daisy-throwing hippie. If someone's a dick, they need treating like a dick, but give everyone a bit of a chance to not be a dick, I suppose.
There's a lot of communities where, like, even the social media communities, like the WhatsApp ones, they can be really, really strict, and you get kicked out for almost anything, and that's quite dickish. There's a few Facebook groups that are like that, and Discord groups that are like that are a bit dickish.
The problem is, like, this is I am a real live Sparky. I trained as a Sparky. I am a Sparky. I like swearing. I like telling like it is, yeah. But then someone goes, oh, I don't like your opinion about being an electrician. Off you go. And you're like, well, hang on, what right have you got to tell me what do, you dozy fucking dick?
Like, yeah, and you get a lot of that. You get a lot. It's like some electricians think they're basically scientists.
I don't want anyone with individuality coming in here.
No, how dare you? How dare you? Ethical, moral. Like, it's just ridiculous. Listen, I'm a tradesman. I'm a tradesman for a reason, because it suits me. I like what I do, and I like site work, and I like everything about it. Sometimes I get the ump about it, because sometimes going onto certain sites is dreadful. It's dreadful. And you want to talk about community on certain sites, it can be absolute hell. People can be horrible, vindictive, horrible.
Back in the noughties, like card carrying sparks versus subbies, you might as well have been at war. You might as well be that bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that as bad anymore, because I think a lot of those people that instigated that, which to be fair were the card carrying sparks, have left the industry because they've all died, thank fuck, of asbestosis because they didn't do anything they was told. But it was bad. It was like people were literally like, oh, don't talk to the subbies. And you're like, I'm there as another going, why not? He's just to chat to, innit? Or don't mingle with the subbies. Like, yeah, that's what it was genuinely like, which was terrible, really.
Well, one of the things that when I went on the cards as a site manager not so long ago, last year or whenever it was, the difference turning up on a site as a cardie and turning up as a subby is so different. It's such a different experience. It's so much nicer. Yeah, I still miss being a subby. I didn't enjoy being on the cards.
We had subbies where I used to work, and obviously it was me that would sign off their sheets to get paid, and they were part of the team. I mean, there's one guy, I don't know his last name, but his name's Dylan, Cambridge way. So if you ever have Dylan come to you for a job, take him on. I have never seen Fuseboards as neat as what he can do. They are out of this world. I'm neat. He takes neat to another level, you know.
The problem is, there are a large number of subbies that will jump from job to job doing shit work, right?
Yes.
Fact. But there's also, and I've worked for firms, yeah, there's immense numbers of differing bell ends working for firms on the cards that want burning. You know? But sometimes they'll just forget that, and it's both. Everyone's just as bad as each other. There's an equal proportion of bell ends in both of those industries. Yeah. But there was a real big theme in the 90s, and probably from the 90s as well, where they just hated each other. It was like apartheid for Sparkies. It was crazy.
Yeah, big time. Especially
so I was talking like cars getting rolled over and all that kind of shenanigans. Know what I mean?
See, that's that up north stuff. That's not happening down south.
If this was in Farnborough, They were literally rolling cars over because subbies were coming off other jobs and undercutting other subbies and that. It was like the Wild West. We could do a whole show on it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a funny thing, the Sparky community. And I think, as with anything, even like being a Sparky, you got to make it work for yourself. Like, I just don't involve myself with communities that piss me off anymore. I just can't be dealing with it. I once had an argument with Ray and his little posse about union stuff for 12 hours straight. I woke up in the morning and it was going off. My name was dropped on a WhatsApp group and I just went deep. And then my wife went to work. She come home after all day, 12 hours later, she come home and I was still in the same thing. I was out of my mind, like stressed. And she's like, what are you still doing? I was like, fuck off, bitch. And at that moment, I was like, oh, wow. I've been on here all day.
They arguing over whether crosshead or flathead screws are the best.
Panheads or just normal ones.
The problem is, like I say, it's opinion. And like what my opinion is that you should never silence another person's opinion. They should be able to give it, especially if it's a public style forum. If you've got like a business page and someone's coming over there slagging you off because using panhead screws, you can delete them. It's your business. If you're encouraging an open style community, which is meant to represent a fair amount of the trade, like a Facebook group, but you're getting rid of people because they think the old wiring colours were better, you're a moron. Because that is meant to represent everyone having their say into it. Sam is coughing up for audio viewers.
I've got this thing, man. It's driving me insane. Right. So, we're changing subject now. Our good friends at Verso have sent us a little video to watch.
Hi guys, William here from Verso Electrical. So recently we've done a video on double pole 20 amp switches or switch spurs for 3 kilowatt systems like immersion heaters and storage heaters. What we'd like to know is, what is your professional opinion on whether you should be fitting 3 kilowatt systems into either a 20 amp switch or a switch spur? Love to know your thoughts.
So that was Will from Verso with his question. Jamie, what was his question?
So what I think is should you be using 30 amp switch fuse spurs for things like immersion heaters and storage heaters and that kind of thing? Is that what he's getting at?
Mm-hmm. I would say so.
So the way I was brought up, which is we've been discussing this podcast, was dragged up. I only use a spur to reduce a fuse size off a ring or provide like a local reduction. So I want immersion heater. They're over 30 amp, aren't they? Or can be. Because this is where you get brown spur. This is where you get with brown spurs, isn't it? Everyone's seen a brown spur where it's just over 13 amps. So no.
There's a few on my page.
Is it
council properties where they've chucked in 13 amp fuse spurs on a, what should be a 20 amp double pole isolator?
I've been to more than my fair share of flats where you've got storage heaters which come in various flavors and sizes, and like the little one, there's like 1 bar ones at the 1 element and it's fine. Then you go in the living room, the 5 bar one, the spurs melted. So no, there's definitely, it does happen though. It's a good question because it does happen, this, doesn't it? People do pick the wrong things.
Sounds quiet. Sounds quiet. Don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I think double pole isolators should always be fitted for stuff like that, especially on immersion heaters or anything with an element. So obviously, if you get an earth leakage, then you're going to get tripping from that, and at least you can shut that, because not all fuse spurs are double pole.
Oh, this is.
There you go.
Getting well technically, it's like the electrician show. Jesus.
Can I get my gold card now?
I'll give the proper gold card opinion. Thanks very much, Rick. No, you're right. I didn't think of that. Yeah. So if you have an immersion, if you have an element go down, you could be sat there with your split load board tripping all night, and you can't do the old on the phone to people. Right, turn everything off, then turn it back on one at a time. Kind of say, yeah, it is common though, and I've never thought about it before. I've just always thought, oh, that's wrong. But yeah, good bit of information, people there. Design your circuit properly.
Little tangent. I mean, I'm about doing name drops of brands because we're doing a Verso thing, but I'm pretty sure they probably do it. But in the past, I've done like a grid switch with a fuse module and then two 20 amp double pole switches, so that you can isolate, say like a garden suit. I do a lot of garden stuff, so you can isolate the garden from the house. So if you do have nuisance tripping from outside, pop them isolators off, and then you've separated it from the house, so you're not going to lose your RCD protection on the sockets and whatever else.
Unfortunately, and this is the problem, is you're clearly thinking of the lifetime of installation, its maintenance, and the usability of it. And you probably charge a decent rate for that. And this is where you bill down the pub will do it for half the price. And he's not whacking that in. And then when your pond pump breaks, your whole arse is tripping and your fridge is defrosted. And well, it was cheap. You know what I mean? So yeah, a lot of sparks feel that problem.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've got nothing to add.
Come on, Sam, you must have something. Jesus Christ.
No, I've got nothing to add.
When you're designing a circuit with Verso products, if you like, you've got to factor in. If you're putting a pond pump in, say, you need to be, before it leaves the property, putting some sort of isolator in. Now, in that case, so if it was that one, I'd probably use a 20 mil. So if I take a 20, I'd use a spur there, or an RCD spur, wouldn't you? So you didn't trip the main spur. Oh my God, I'm starting to get design here. Don't know.
Do you know what happened to me once? And it's similar, but not the same. I had a garden lighting job, and it was the driveway lights, and so I put them in directly from the board to, where did it go now? So it went to a light sensor or something. Anyway, what happened was the water table in the winter, or when it was raining, was really, really high. It's quite waterlogged around there. So where I'd buried it at regulation height, 30 centimeters down, it would completely be submerged. All the joins would be submerged. And after a while, water finds its way in. It don't matter if you put gel in it, it doesn't matter anything. Water will find its way if it's submerged. And they would be tripping all the time.
Like me.
All the time. So I had to go back and bring it all up.
I would argue, now tell me if I'm wrong, chaps, I appreciate your opinion on this, yeah? The only suitable joint for use in the garden that will keep water out, none of that magic gel crap or your resins or your gels, is a resin joint. End of story. Nothing else. Nothing else.
Do you know what you should do? Is you put the join in the bush or on the fence.
Then tee off. So it's like just an enclosure. Good, yeah. But underground wise, if it's not resin for me, because I follow a lot of joints on Instagram. How you joints I follow on Instagram, and there's a lot of heat shrinking jointing now. Now I've brought up in resin. Resin never lets you down if you get it right. But this heat shrink, I just don't trust it. And these gels and pots and stuff.
I would never ever bury a joint again. It's the dumbest thing. It's the dumbest thing.
Yeah, I go with on that. Also, don't know with maintenance, does it? Or if you want to say you've got two boxes and you want to put one in the middle, it doesn't help you drag the cable back and that.
No, it's more hassle than it's worth. Would you agree, Ricky?
Well, with my garden jobs, funnily enough, I'm quoting one right now. I'll come back to that in a minute if you want. But recently, I've always put the joints so that they're under the artificial grass, so I've still got access. But I always ask the landscapers when they're going to bury them to bury it in gravel rather than putting sand and substrate on it. Because then putting the gravel around it means the water's not going to pool over the box.
It's more porous, isn't it?
Also, I suppose, I was just going to say, doing garden lighting, not every customer's going to want to pay for 30 resin joints, are they?
Exactly. Well, so this is what I can say. I've got a job. I've got 17 lights. He's got 3 tree planters, and they're all going to be filled with topsoil. Trees are big trees, obviously, and they're all 230 volt. They're all armored cable, and I've explained to him that basically each box with the resin, sorry, not the resin, the gel, the earth bar that goes between the whisker box, 2 storm glands, the way goes, and then the gel plus your labour time. I said you're looking at around about £108 per point. Times that by 17. It's a lot.
Volt. Did you say 230 volt when you go on lighting? Is that how you roll? No self?
No. Well, this is where I've then said to him, I recommend we go self because then we don't have to earth all the armoured. Basically, the customers put the armoured cable, you see. Right. So he's done the job and then got me in. recently. Yeah, so I did say to him about going 12 volt. I said, because we don't have to wear the armored cables, we don't have to use armored glands, we can use stuffing glands. We still obviously use the gel, the way it goes. But I said we can reduce the cost of materials probably about £20-30 per joint. And obviously, over 17 joints, that's quite a bit of saving. And then obviously you've got the transformer. It's external. It's in a garage. Sorry, external, internal. It's in a garage. But I
used to just bang it in. If I was doing tomato lighting, I used to bang it in as 240 till I saw a David Saver video about it. And then I was like, how the fuck has some asshole who's come to the trade loads later than me worked out that you will literally kill someone one day? And I was like, totally changed the way I look at doing stuff like that. Because in a domestic house, you know you're going to get kids licking it. It's like,
wait, hold on.
Why am I putting 240 in for kids to lick?
So what? Right, hold on.
Sam needs to know. Is this an education, an intervention?
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah.
I need someone to point me in the direction for low voltage lighting for gardens, because there just doesn't seem to be anybody.
This was my question. This was my question. I spent hours and hours and hours trying to find them the lights that they wanted for their garden, and mate, we had to order them from Germany in the end.
So this
and there weren't no 12 volt option.
Wrong. This is what I found out. Right. This is. I always come in and bum David Saver, but he's great, right?
Don't just shout out wrong.
No, I was wrong, right? And David Saver's got a video. It's called Silver Lighting Outside. I'll try and link it onto this or put a comment, yeah? And I watched it, and it was before I got really into it. I was like, that's fucking genius. So what he does is he buys mains lights, GU10. Then on eBay, you can buy the converters that convert them to MR12 pins. So just so he buys any old lights he wants, slaps that converter in. There's a converter for GU35 to MR11, is it? Is that right, the numbers? I don't frequent to know about this house, but MR16. So yeah. So if you're not seen it, I'll link it. I'll put it in the comments tomorrow, so everyone can watch a video. And I was like, that's great, because in the good old days, a 35 watt lamp, 12 volt was what you needed. Now you need a 1 or 2 watt, don't you? So you can have a transformer in the garage. Oh, lot could be 12 volt. You're not going to murder any kittens or anything like that. Revelation. It's all technical tonight.
How many people die from garden lighting though?
Do you want it on your conscience though? Do you want your?
I couldn't care less. If you do a safe install and then someone comes along and fannies about of it and kills themselves, that's on them. That's called survival of the fittest.
If someone fannies about it, great. But what if?
No, it's natural selection, isn't it? That's it. Natural selection.
10 years of water ingress, and then suddenly this 80 milliamps at a box. Bosch.
What, on an RCBO?
Yeah, well, you assume it's an RCBO, don't you?
Well,
or even an RCD.
RCDs aren't magic. You can't just rely on an RCD for your protection. They're not
a magic AFDD solution. Is magic.
I get what you're saying, but to me, it's fail-safe is not one item. You can't just put an RCD in everything and think no one's going to die. You've got to put multiple things in there. And just having 12 volt just means you're just going to get tingled, aren't you? And that's it. You don't need an RCD then, because you can't die.
It's funny you should say that though, because you think of like a special location, like a bathroom. Where I was brought up with the rule of the 3 was either had to be IP rated, low voltage, or RCD protected. So it had to be 2 of those 3 to be compliant.
Oh, I've never heard that before. That's interesting.
Yeah. So when we went through the ranks way back, I mean, we're talking 16th edition. I guess I was told this by my Sparky peer. And he said it always had to be 2 of the 3 items. So it could either be low voltage and low voltage and IP, or it could be IP and RCD, or it could be RCD and low voltage. So it had to be 2 of those 3 things for it to be put. So like with the garden, for instance, I do everything IP rated, everything's RCD protected, obviously by our current regulations, everything's certificated and notified. And then, I've started doing more self stuff where I can. But my problem is things like Knightsbridge and Saxby, they don't do a range of low voltage outside lighting other than the little decking lights. So
and then it's things like photocells and stuff like that. And it's just not a practical thing.
Manufacturers, listen to this and address this.
I can send a lot of money away.
You don't need to be pumping 240 volts around a garden unless it's for a socket. I think now.
No, I think you might be right in theory, but I
agree.
The fact is,
the problem
is getting something that you can deploy that the customers want in their garden might be a different.
I think we could all agree that the transition the transition should be happening. These manufacturers making 12-volt stuff. Everything's low wattage now. There's no need to be pumping 240 volts around to feed 50-watt lamps.
You're not wrong
a
there.
mile away. So yeah, I mean, what are we agreeing for? It's like we're in some kind of community we've argued about something, come up with a solution, and now we're all happy to go with it.
Yes.
Well, I'm not having this on this podcast.
I don't think it's a bad shout. I just don't think it's ready yet. Like, I just don't think people have put enough time and effort into it.
Unfortunately, manufacturers, yeah, a lot of manufacturers, I'm not Tom what was saying, Brush, especially Verso, manufacturers will just flog things that flog. Unless we say, look, mate, I want low voltage because I want to use solve, they will just keep selling us the old shit. As per, if anyone goes on the American sites, which I love doing, I love going to electrical sites for Americans, they use stuff that looks like it's all like the 1970s. All their Fuseboards are like grey boxes that have never changed because they will just push that crap onto them. So if we don't ask for it, we won't get it.
I don't think I think because we're a smaller country and because the manufacturers are so involved in our regs, because they're all a lot of the manufacturers are part of our regs, aren't they? So they do have a vested interest in what we install. So we're not going to be as restricted. Look at me, I sound smart today, boy.
At least it's not as emotional as normally this podcast. It's quite highbrow today, but not emotional, which is nice. But yeah,
why? Because I usually shout at you for saying dumb stuff.
Unfortunately, as we know, I know people have died in gardens and on pub lighting. There's another David video on that to talk about. It does happen, but as a Sparky, I like doing it at night, sleeping, enjoy it. I don't want to be at night. I want to be there going, everything I've done, no one's going to get slotted on it, yeah? That's my main aim in life at the minute.
Yeah, but that's so mental. People. That's so mental.
What's mental about that?
Because, that's just mental. Like, as long as you do it safe and to regs, no one should die. Unless they go fanning about it.
That's why I don't worry, mate. I do sleep at night. I don't worry about it. It doesn't bother me. But there are people out there, the cheaper people, the people that are probably undercutting people like Rick on garden lighting jobs, that are whacking it in and they're getting lucky. Unfortunately, they'll undercut people because they keep getting lucky. But one day, someone will cork it. And we're not seeing any big changes till someone famous corks it, unfortunately, because no one cares about the poor.
We're getting political now.
Well, but yeah, but I just don't want it to be another thing in the trade where someone has to die to get something changed.
Right. Do you want to do last 10 minutes on your energy thing, or do you want to do that on another podcast?
Well, we've done a lot of podcasts about energy. Let's ask Rick. Let's ask Rick's opinion on how are you finding the energy? What are people asking about and stuff like that? You said that guy's got 17 garden lights. He must be minted.
Well, he told me off the record that he's spending 75 grand on his garden so far. Yes, that's without my electrical work. Yeah.
I think at the minute we've got to do a little bit on energy every week, haven't we? But what about? Are you getting people asking you about energy saving and all that stuff?
Yes, a lot. I mean, obviously, my house, I wouldn't go as far as saying we're super energy efficient here. But I do have, and I do sell this quite a lot to people, is I have a PIR sensor on both my land. I've got a 3-story house. And I've got a PIR sensor on both. No, it's a townhouse.
It's 17 lights in the garden. Don't buy 3-story houses.
No. So I've got a PIR sensor on the first floor landing and a PIR sensor on the second floor landing and one in the master bathroom. Because the kids, they'll go to the toilet at 12 o'clock at night, go for a pee, go back to bed and leave the lights on. And there's nothing worse when that light just bleeds underneath and above the door.
Yeah.
So these sensors, after 3 minutes, turn off. And I wired them so
3 minutes, you are minted.
Oh, no. But basically, that's one option. And I do get a lot.
I'll tell you what, mate. I'll interject. I've had lights like that in my house for 15 years. I've got a PI on the front room that puts on the corner lights so you can walk in. One in the back room that puts on one strip of lights and the staircase. Because I was the same.
Yeah.
Kept leaving them on.
I've got sensors on the doors under the stairs and the pantry and the kitchen. So when you're out the door, there's like a little contact. So at least there's nobody forgetting to turn them off.
You've got automatic lights in your pantry.
But yeah, I mean, I did mention to you the other day, because with the 3-story house, so basically our downstairs, we've got a living room and a kitchen. Then on the first floor, this room I'm in now is like a double bedroom. This used to be the living room. Then there's another double bedroom opposite, and then above our bedroom, and then there's a small box room and a bathroom. So what I said to you the other day, if you remember, was about contractors. And I think that is a good option, but again, it's like putting the cost of whether you'll get that money back. And the idea I put to Jamie was like a hotel sort of basis. You know, you have to go to a hotel and you put your little card in the slot and the lights come on and the pair to the room. Was that you had like a last man out switch. So when you left the house, you hit the button and it dropped a contactor and just kept like an essential circuit on. So like your downstairs ring for your fridge, your boiler, your smoke alarms, your burglar alarm.
The only thing I will put out, because we're full of great advice this week, is right. I'll tell you. Well, I'll not tell you. I'll ask your opinion because that seems to be popular this week, right? Here's the one. Yeah, if you switch your TV off at the plug every time after you finish using it, your TV will not last a year because that power supply will blow up. So you're better off leaving it on standby. It doesn't, as long as it's not like an absolute vampire killer, eats like 30 megawatts a day. You are better off just leaving it on standby if it's a modern TV.
I agree, because it will kill the power supply inside and it costs a fortune to fix it, if they can.
But yeah, if anyone has got any hot energy saving tips that the audition has a Sparky, put them in the comments. Our comment section is getting quite rapid. What I will say is, from my point, is I'll start putting my battery in this week. It's here. It's screwed to the wall outside. Hopefully no one will come and nick it because there's no cables in it. But I'll start sticking it in, and I'm doing a bit of that on Instagram if anyone's interested.
Do you know what happened to me this week? Really annoying.
Could be a true story.
Obviously, I've got my Verso bits and pieces sent through to me, and obviously I've been switches and spurs and all this sort of stuff. You know how we roll, and I've been doing up Harper's room, my daughter's room. And I was like, right, let me go in there and change the sockets and light switch and all that, put these nice Verso ones in. Took off the first socket and I was like, well, that's obviously, it's only got one cable going to it. Pulled it out and it kept coming and all of a sudden it was off. The cable was that far in the wall. Like just the cable was attached to it.
Yeah.
And then cut.
Oh, so it weren't working?
We don't go nowhere.
Have you ever... So, what? So you never used that socket? You never noticed?
No.
Classic. You know, are you ever done the classic rewire? I've had my house rewire, but can you come and have a look? And I got round there, and these geezers had put 18 inches of new cable in.
That's what's happened here.
on through crimps. And they left all the wire and they changed the sockets and put 18 inches of decent cable in. And then behind it all, it was all the old stuff.
No.
And I thought that'd take longer than just rewiring the ass.
But no, so that didn't work. The other socket didn't work. So we've just finished the bedroom.
What is it? Persimmon ash, yeah?
Mate, I can't believe it. It's actually soul destroying. So yeah, I've got to put the skirting on this weekend, and I've got to rewire it behind the skirting this weekend.
And what's the rule about doing work in your own ass as an electrician?
Just it's just. Do you know what? I am never ever doing a room on a budget again. You have to sort of budget like £1,000 for each room now. That's it. Each room's £1,000.
That you cost have to get your mate to do electrics because I don't want to do any work in my house whatsoever. It's gash. The stuff I do in my house is the worst work I do.
So Harper's got her. My brother's a chippy, and he made like a name plaque, each individual letter.
Oh right, yeah.
Go above her bed. They're about that. They're a really lovely thing. All painted a different colour. So we painted one of the walls pink, and that's where it was going. Right. It's all finished. It's all the painting's done, all the cutting's done, and I put it up on the wall, and it's slightly off centre. I marked the centre between the R and the P. You'd think that's the centre of the name Harper, but it's not the way the letters are spelled.
Oh, yeah, because it's because of the way the wood is.
Oh, mate.
Capital H.
Yeah. And I was like, mate, this is a wind-up now. So I took it off, and I'd stuck it on with little sticky pads. And I took it off, and the sticky pads left this little mark on there. And I was like, you know, like a sticky pad mark. And I was like, well, that'll rub off. So I was rubbing it with my finger, and the paint rolled up underneath my finger. And I was like...
And this is when you're near the end of it. It's just finishing touches, and you're knackering it all.
And then... So the paint started rolling up. Like, it turned into some sort of, like, silicone or something. I was like, no. Anyway, so I stopped. I cut it out with a Stanley knife. Got rid of that bit, put a bit of filler in there, rubbed it down, and then the rest of the paint started rolling up. And like we're putting the finishing touches on, I had to strip the whole wall back to plaster.
Do you have to stabilise it or something like that?
Yeah, because we'd painted over the old paint and it hadn't taken. And all it wanted to... I was pulling off sheets of paint.
Ironically as well, I do recall you saying less than 2 podcasts ago, if you can piss, you can paint. So clearly, you can't piss.
Mate, I was fumed.
I thought he was going to say, and I'm sure if you spoke on this, I was putting something up on the wall and I drilled through a cable. And the problem for an electrician is you immediately know what a bastard that is going to be to repair. So what you do is you withdraw the drill, take the drill back out carefully, flick the breaker on, and if it stays on, it gets left.
And on that bombshell, right, Ricky, been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Monday Club.
God save the king.
Oh, damn right. Yeah.
Monday Club, we're out. Yeah,